I'm your host, Jeff Sart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. On this episode of the Great American Whiskey Cookers, Murphy Quint gives us insight into how they are barreling and aging their whiskey and what role Mother Nature plays, all with a nod to Kentucky. So let's talk about your barrels. Where do they come from, the char level?
Yep.
We're sitting here in a rick house, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But talk to me about your barrels.
Acquiring barrels, obviously empty barrels used for the process, that is probably the coolest thing that I get to do, or at least something that I really enjoy, because we produce bourbon, rye, single malt, a number of other things as well, but those are the three things that I'm constantly bringing barrels in for, and they all kind of require something different. For our bourbon and rye, we get everything from ISC, Independent Stave Company, who I'm a huge fan of. They do a great job for us, and it's almost always going to be char number 3.
How many barrels are you producing a day, a week, a month?
So here we usually base things off of a month. I mean, everyone's got their own strategy. So what we're doing right now is 200 barrels per month. We've gone anywhere from 150 to 200. We can kind of scale up or down as needed, which is kind of interesting. But right now we're set up to go 200 barrels per month, and it keeps us moving. How we do things here is very intentional, especially on the way that we're building these buildings. So we're going 5 barrels high, like I said, horizontally. And the reason being is because we want the barrels in this room to be exposed to Mother Nature. We want the temperature fluctuations that happen in this room to have an actual impact on our barrels. If we stacked our barrels, 10 high, 20 high, 30 high, by the time you get to the barrel on top, it's going to be super hot at top. It's going to be room temperature on bottom. What we're trying to do is embrace Mother Nature's temperature swings from rack 1 to rack 5 on the highest. And so by the time you get to rack 5, it's still about the same temperature as rack 1.
Sure.
Yep.
And I noticed, we're sitting here, it's middle of September in Iowa. Yep. Iowa has some big temperature swings, cold winters, heavy snow, hot summers, right? Mm-hmm. Your barrel sheds aren't temperature controlled.
That's correct. Yeah, so like I said, we're really trying to tap into the fact that here in the state of Iowa in particular, we get these crazy fluctuations. This time of season is actually the perfect example of that. About 2 weeks ago, it was 100 degrees. It was like 106 degrees or something crazy out here.
It was nuts.
And then just last night, it was like 42 degrees. So over the course of 2 weeks, we've seen about a 60-degree swing, and our barrels are gaining exposure to that, and that's really exciting. Furthermore, because I know that it's not that uncommon to do non-climate controlled aging. Some people do, some people don't. But the way that we're building our buildings has an actual impact on that as well. And that's if you look at the exterior of the building, it's steel walls. These are literally pole sheds with barrels inside of them. So our barrels get a real shock to them when it goes from 40 degrees to 100 degrees quickly. And you can see that on the exterior of the barrels, there's a lot of barrel sweat where stage have started to kind of separate a little bit and then close. So you can see that when looking at them. Had we built buildings that are made of brick or concrete or whatever, it kind of softens that fluctuation because the brick is going to temporarily work as a bit of an insulator. So if you get a 60-degree swing, it has to work through the brick and then get to the barrels. We have steel with literal gaps from, roof to the wall where the temperature is going to gain access to the room. So our barrels get significant exposure to fluctuations.
And that's a very cool thing. Yeah. That's a very kind of a Kentucky thing.
It is.
To allow that to happen.
Yep.
You said you're putting out about 200 barrels a month, right? When we were out here doing some scouting about a month or so ago, you were building another rack house. So how many do you have? How many and how many barrels does each rack house hold?
So we've got that's actually a very difficult question because from the day that we opened up, we've acquired new buildings and put up new buildings when we could financially. We're a privately owned company, so it's like we've never wanted to be too aggressive on that front. We've always been fairly conservative and safe on not expanding too quickly. So originally, we put up very, very small rick houses. Here we call them barrel sheds because it's Iowa, but so our barrel sheds, they differ in size from, the first one we ever put up holds like 40 barrels. The second one we ever put up holds like 300 barrels. when you move into kind of the modern style rickhouse or barrel shed that we put up, they hold 2,200 barrels. So the one that we're in right now, this is barrel shed 7. It holds 2,200 barrels, and that's kind of the format that we're moving forward with. So how many do we have is especially confusing because we number them, barrel shed 7, barrel shed 8. Well, we had one that we actually converted from a barrel shed into a storage room. And so it's like, when you take one out, does barrel shed 7 still stay barrel shed 7, or is that now barrel shed 6? It gets very, very difficult. But we have 11 buildings on the property, most of which are dedicated to holding barrels. So yeah, it's kind of a complicated question, a weird way to answer.
Fair enough. And I noticed you're not using a pallet system, at least in this one.
Yeah.
Right? This looks like a fairly kind of a traditional method.
That's right. So this is how we're dedicated to doing it here. I, a while back, actually worked at another distillery, a really awesome place. And I was working there when they went from horizontal barrels to vertical barrel storage on pallets. So I got to see that change, and I think it's really neat. I have no, I don't think it's any sort of a negative to do vertically. We want to do things horizontally here just because of the feel it gives.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit in a room like this and you do an interview or a tour or whatever, it just has a certain look that I think people like to see. I will say that it is definitely more efficient from a logistical side of things to have them on pallets so that you can easily pull them in and out. We do barrels 10 barrels deep in our racks, so to get to the one all the way in the back takes actually a fairly significant amount of work.
Yep.
And that's not always popular.
So where do they find you? How does somebody get in touch with you?
CedarRidgeDistillery.com is our website, first and foremost, right? Tons of product information, all kinds of different stuff that we have going on. Visit a distillery, get tours, all that kind of stuff. Instagram is probably our best place, in my opinion, to follow, especially if you're a whiskey fan, to kind of see everything that Murphy and his team doing. That's at Cedar Ridge, Iowa. Murphy's got a page as well, so I'm not sure if he wants to pitch that or,
But I have my own little Instagram account. I just do some behind-the-scenes stuff, kind of bringing light to production. So at Murphy Quint on Instagram if you want to check that out. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, I'm Jeff Sart for the Great American Whiskey Cookers for Murphy. Jamie, thank you guys for this discussion and talking about Cedar Ridge. You can find us at thegreatamericanwhiskeycookers.com. So until next time, can't be good, be good at it. See ya.